The scariest part about being used is that it doesn't feel like being used. At least not at first. It feels like connection. It feels like attraction. She needs you and you mistake that for closeness. She lets you pay and you mistake that for appreciation. She calls late at night and you mistake that for intimacy. But behind the illusion, you're not her partner. You're her resource, and the longer you play along, the more you lose. So here's the real question. How do you tell the difference between genuine love and calculated manipulation before it's too late? That's exactly what I'll uncover today. The warning signs, the traps, and the way out. Take a moment and ask yourself honestly, in your last relationship, did you ever feel drained instead of fulfilled? Did you feel like the balance was always off? Like you were carrying the weight while she coasted? That nagging feeling wasn't random. It was your intuition trying to wake you up. But too often, men silence that voice. They dismiss it, hoping things will improve, while the cycle of giving without receiving continues until they're empty. The first step to breaking free is admitting to yourself that something feels wrong. Before we dig deeper, like this video and subscribe. This is where men come to finally see what's been hidden in plain sight. And reflect with me in the comments. If you're honest, do you think you've ever ignored your own gut because you were afraid of losing her? Because the moment you confront that truth, you're ready to see the signs for what they really are. Men often underestimate just how vulnerable they become in the early stages of dating. Not because they are weak, but because their natural instinct is to invest. Men are conditioned to give time, effort, money, attention. Society has told you that proving yourself as a provider and protector is the shyest way to a woman's heart. The problem is when you're trapped in that mindset, the wrong kind of woman sees it not as love, but as opportunity. You believe that the more you give, the closer she'll feel. But some women recognize this pattern and exploit it. They know that your desire to show up, to fix problems, to provide solutions makes you an easy target. You confuse your effort with progress, but in reality, she's simply collecting the benefits while giving nothing back. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, if I just do this one more thing, she'll finally see my value? That inner dialogue is the very trap that keeps you hooked. It blinds you. Because when you're intoxicated by attraction, you stop evaluating her behavior logically. You no longer notice whether her actions reflect genuine care. You only notice how much more you can give, hoping it will buy closeness. Here's the truth. When you're blinded by attraction, you don't see her actions for what they are. You see them as potential when in reality, they're transactions. And unless you wake up, you'll keep mistaking manipulation for love. That's why today, we're not just going to talk about attraction. We're going to talk about patterns. And I'm going to show you the 4 most dangerous signs that she's using you. So you never again confuse a transaction with real affection. Number 1, she only reaches out when she needs something. It usually begins with a text that makes you feel a spark of hope. Your phone lights up, you see her name, and immediately you think she's thinking about me. But look closer. The message isn't, "How was your day?" or "I'd love to see you." It's, "Hey, can you help me with fill in the blank? Ride to the airport. Answers for an assignment. $20 until Friday. Fixing her Wi-Fi. Carrying heavy furniture." In that moment, you convince yourself it's a sign of connection. You tell yourself she must trust you, if she's asking for help. What you don't realize is that trust has nothing to do with it. Convenience does. She's not reaching out because she misses you. She's reaching out because you're useful. Here's where the trap tightens. Every time you respond, you feel a small victory. You're the hero, the reliable man, the one she can count on. But if you step back and look at the bigger picture, you'll see there's no actual relationship being built. It's not a cycle of give and take. It's a one-way street. You give, she takes, and then she disappears until the next request arrives. Imagine a man who spent months driving a woman across town every time she needed a ride. He thought, if I keep helping, she'll eventually see me as boyfriend material. She never did. Why? Because she never saw him as more than free transportation. And the more he said yes, the more invisible he became as a man, and the more solidified he became as a service. This is how respect erodes us without you even noticing. If the only time she texts you is when she needs something, then you're not a priority, you're a resource. Here's the line you need to remember. Every time you say yes to her request, you're saying no to your own self-respect. It doesn't mean you should never help. Genuine relationships are built on support, but support is mutual. The difference lies in the balance. When it's real, she invests in you as much as you invest in her. When it's not, she disappears the moment her needs are met. So pay attention. Track the frequency and the context of her messages. Ask yourself, does she ever check in on you when she doesn't need anything? Does she initiate conversations just to hear your voice? Or is every interaction a transaction? The answers will tell you everything. Number 2, you are the endless wallet. At first, it feels normal. You take her out, you pick up the check, you enjoy the night. That's what men have been taught to do. The first date, maybe the second, it makes sense. You want to show effort, you want to impress. But what happens when weeks pass, months pass, and she has never once offered to contribute? Not even to buy coffee, not even to pick up dessert after dinner? Nothing. This is where you need to stop fooling yourself. Because generosity in a healthy relationship is never one-sided. If she never even offers, if she never says thank you, if she never acknowledges the cost of your effort, it's not because she forgot, it's because she doesn't care. There are women who view dating not as a path to love, but as a strategy for lifestyle. They know there are men out there desperate for connection, willing to pay for the illusion of closeness. They target those men. For them, a date isn't about bonding, it's about benefits. They'll order the most expensive meal, sip cocktails they'd never buy on their own, and smile just enough to keep you paying. I once knew a man who realized after months of dinners that the only time his girlfriend agreed to meet him was when he offered a night out at an upscale restaurant. The second he suggested something simple, like a walk in the park or a quiet night watching a movie, she vanished. She wasn't dating him, she was dining with him. This is the reality you must face. If the only thing keeping her interested is the size of the bill, then she's not with you. She's with your money. Now let's be clear. Contributing doesn't always mean splitting everything 50-50. It means effort, acknowledgement, appreciation. Maybe she buys you a coffee. Maybe she surprises you with a small gift. Maybe she just expresses gratitude with sincerity. But when there's nothing, no offer, no gratitude, no reciprocity, you're not in a partnership. You're in a transaction. Ask yourself, is she showing up for you or for the perks of being around you? The answer is written on the receipt. If she never reaches for the check, she's not reaching for your heart either. And if you don't recognize that truth soon enough, you'll find yourself financing a lifestyle that doesn't even include you. Number 3. You are nothing more than late-night convenience. Think about the pattern. She doesn't call you during the day to check in. She doesn't invite you to spend time on a Saturday afternoon. She doesn't plan dates or talk about her future. But at 11:30 p.m., when the bars close, when she's scrolling her phone, when her night didn't end the way she hoped, that's when she remembers you. And suddenly, your phone lights up. You tell yourself it's passion. You convince yourself it means she's attracted to you. But what you're ignoring is the complete absence of interest outside of those hours. Real attraction doesn't go silent all week just to ignite when she's bored, lonely, or looking for a replacement plan. Real attraction shows up consistently. What she's showing you is convenience. Here's the hard truth. If she only calls after dark, you're not her priority. You're her backup plan. I've seen men mistake this for intimacy. They believe that physical closeness equals emotional closeness. But to her, it doesn't. To her, it's just a temporary need being filled. And the moment it's satisfied, she pulls away. No conversation the next morning, no plans for the weekend, just silence until the cycle repeats. There's nothing wrong with two adults agreeing to a casual arrangement if that's truly what both want. The problem begins when you want more and she doesn't. When you imagine you're building a relationship while she's making sure she doesn't spend the night alone. Imagine a man who waited weeks for her to reply to his texts, only to get a call at 12 a.m. on a Tuesday. He rushed over thinking it meant she missed him. In reality, she had spent the evening with someone else and needed a fall back. He mistook being the second option as being chosen. That's how delusion keeps men trapped. If she disappears until her nightlife fails, she's not choosing you. She's using you. And the longer you tolerate it, the more you're telling her that your time, your energy, and even your dignity are available on demand. Ask yourself, does she ever want to see you in daylight? Does she ever show up outside of her terms? If the answer is no, then you already know the truth. And you deserve better than to be someone's midnight distraction. Number 4. The entire relationship revolves around her. Picture this. You spend your weekends chauffeuring her to shopping trips, covering spa appointments, booking restaurants, and buying gifts. On the surface, it looks like you're a generous partner. But look closer. Every plan is her plan. Every expense is yours. Every moment is centered around her enjoyment, her lifestyle, her desires. And when you step back, you realize something chilling. You don't even exist in this relationship except as the one who funds it. This isn't love. This is sponsorship. When a woman truly values you, she finds joy in your happiness too. She invests in the little things that matter to you. She listens, she contributes, she builds. But when it's all about her, when every conversation turns into a request, when every outing ends with you paying, when she measures the relationship by what she gets rather than what she gives, you're not a partner. You're a provider on command. I once heard about a man who spent thousands paying off his girlfriend's credit card debt. He thought it would prove his commitment. The day he lost his job and couldn't keep up, she vanished. No calls, no concern, no loyalty. Why? Because her connection to him wasn't emotional. It was financial. And when the financial stream dried up, so did her presence. Here's the bitter truth. If her happiness cost you everything, it was never love. It was a transaction. Ask yourself, do you feel drained instead of fulfilled? Do you feel pressure instead of peace? If being with her feels like constantly running to keep up with her demands, then what you're experiencing isn't partnership, it's exploitation. Relationships are supposed to be mutual. They should lift both people, not deplete one. If she only engages when your credit card is out, if her affection rises and falls with your spending, then you've become nothing more than a financial strategy. The most dangerous part of this trap is that many men convince themselves this is normal. They think this is just how relationships work. I provide, she receives. But deep down, you know when something is off. You know when appreciation is missing. You know when your effort is being consumed instead of cherished. You can't buy real love. You can only rent compliance. And sooner or later that rental agreement expires. Now let's talk about the most important part. What to do once you recognize the signs. Because knowing you're being used is only half the battle. The other half is reclaiming your control, your dignity, and your direction. First, observe with objectivity. When you're emotionally invested, it's easy to distort reality. You excuse her behavior, you reinterpret her actions, you convince yourself she cares. Stop, strip the emotions away and make a simple list. When does she reach out? How does she respond when you don't immediately comply? Does she ever contribute without being asked? Write it down. When you see the pattern in black and white, you'll realize what your heart has been trying to deny. Second, establish boundaries. Every healthy relationship requires them, but men often forget this because they're afraid of losing her. You need to test her reaction when you say no. Decline one of her requests. Watch how she responds. If she respects you, she'll adjust. If she vanishes or manipulates you with guilt, then her intentions are exposed. Boundaries aren't about punishment. They're about clarity. Third, measure her contribution. Real connection is not about equality in dollars, but in effort. Does she give back in ways she can? Does she show appreciation? Does she invest in your growth, your comfort, your life? Or does she disappear until the next favor is needed? If the answer is the latter, stop fooling yourself. Affection without contribution is dependency, not love. Fourth, elevate yourself. The fastest way to break free from manipulation is to invest that energy back into you. Work on your career, your fitness, your purpose. Build a life so fulfilling that you don't need her validation to feel valuable. When you shift focus from pleasing her to building yourself, her control over you evaporates. You stop being a resource and start being a man with standards. Fifth, walk away when necessary. This is the hardest step, but also the most liberating. If all evidence points to her using you, then holding on will not transform the situation. It will only prolong your suffering. Understand this. You don't lose a woman who was never truly yours. You reclaim yourself. Walking away isn't failure. It's proof that you finally value yourself enough to stop bleeding for someone who wouldn't lift a finger for you. This isn't about demonizing women. Not every woman uses men. but the ones who do thrive only because men allow it. And the moment you stop allowing it, you protect yourself and make space for someone genuine, someone who wants you, not just what you provide. Men, you must learn this. The same standards you apply in business, return on investment, mutual benefit, accountability, you must apply in love. If a business deal drained you dry without giving value, you'd walk away instantly. So why tolerate it in your personal life? At the end of the day, a healthy relationship should feel like a partnership. Two people lifting each other, not one person dragging the other down. If you're the only one giving, it's not a relationship. It's exploitation disguised as romance. The power is in your hands. Recognize the pattern. Set the boundary. Evaluate her contribution. Focus on your growth. And if necessary, walk away. Because the truth is simple. You deserve a woman who sees you as a man to love, not a wallet to drain. So, let's bring this full circle. If you've recognized yourself in any of these patterns, if you saw your own situation in even one of these signs, you need to stop pretending it's not happening. The worst mistake a man can make is ignoring the truth just because it's uncomfortable. Every day you deny it, you're handing over more of your time, your energy, and your self-respect. Here's the reality. The sooner you acknowledge what's happening, the less you lose. The longer you wait, the deeper the cut. Because being used is not just about money or favors. It's about the erosion of your value as a man. And once you allow someone to strip that away, it's a long climb back. But there's hope. The power to change this is in your hands. You don't have to beg for love. You don't have to pay for attention. And you don't have to prove your worth to someone who never valued it in the first place. A woman who truly loves you will never drain you. She will build with you. She will meet you halfway. She will want to see you rise, not bleed. So take this as your wake-up call. Stop pouring yourself into people who only see you as a resource. Set your boundaries, reclaim your standards, and protect your energy. Because the man who respects himself never has to beg for respect from anyone else. If this message opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe for more because every week I break down the truths you need to hear, even if they sting. Share this with a man who needs it, because sometimes awareness is the only thing standing between him and years of regret. And leave a comment below. Which of these signs hit you the hardest? Because awareness isn't the end of the journey. It's the first step to power.